Senator, good to see you here. Let's start with the same question we asked your opponent. Closing in on early voting here, give us an honest assessment. Where do you think you stand in the race right now?
So look, we got a little bit left here. We got a few days till early voting, May the 26th, the day after Memorial Day. Make sure to go vote, everybody. This is going to be a low turnout election, but there is a distinction here. There is a difference. For 10 years, Chip Roy has been fighting President Trump, opposing him. And what have I been doing at the exact same time? Fighting the left and defeating them. That is the difference, and I believe that's why I came in first place in the March 3rd primary. Look, because this is a show me, don't tell me business. We are tired of politicians telling us what they're going to do. They've got to show us the results. And that's why President Trump called me a MAGA champion. It's also why he said my conservative record is second to none. And look at that record, right? I took on the woke left's radical gender ideology and won. Authored and passed the Save Women's Sports Act, also the Women's Privacy Law that kicks perverted men out of women's restrooms and locker rooms. I took on the atheists and defeated them and got prayer and the Ten Commandments back into our schools, and also took on our foreign adversaries in Austin, stopped China from buying our land, stopped these radical Muslim groups like CARE and Muslim Brotherhood from owning any property in Texas. And on that front, I'll tell you, Sharia law, that's organized crime, period, and I will treat it as such. Also tripled border security, designated cartels as terrorists. It is that proven conservative results that this is really about and this race is really about. And it's about Texas.
But give us an idea, though. You've seen your own internal polling. We've all seen the ads out there between both candidates here. Where does this race stand right now? Who's ahead? Who's not ahead?
So look, Jason, the latest poll, we're ahead. Obviously, you saw the U of H poll. They came out here, a week or two ago. But the thing that's really important to remember here is look at Chip Roy's record. He did work in the AG's office. That is true, right? He has that on his resume. But how did that end? How was the last day? He was told resign or be fired and escorted out of the building because of gross insubordination. And I don't know about you, but when you tell someone resign or be fired, you don't let them back in the building. And look, this is also why I believe that General Paxton has said he is voting for me in this Republican primary runoff. Ken Paxton said he's voting for me in this runoff on the 26th. Also, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick has endorsed me in this race. My former primary opponent, Aaron Reitz, has endorsed me in this race. And the first thing that he said the reason why is he knows I will use every resource and tool in the AG's office to back up President Trump. There's only one MAGA candidate here in this runoff, and it's me. President Trump doesn't trust Chip Roy, neither do I, and neither should you.
Your opponent, though, argues that you're running on ideology and endorsements, as you just mentioned, not courtroom experience, which he says that he has. How do you respond to that? He told us just a moment ago here, you've never tried a case in court. You're not qualified. How do you respond?
Here's the experience that matters the most. Defeating the left. That is the number one thing in the AG's office. And look, for 7 years, I've been writing these laws, drafting these laws, defending them against Democrat attorneys on the House floor, defending them against Democrat attorneys on the Senate floor, getting them over the finish line and winning. Who better to enforce these laws than someone that was on the ground floor writing them and already defending them against the left's attacks? And this is a 4,000 person agency. This is 750 attorneys. It is an executive level role, right? DAs, they're in the judicial branch. Those are prosecutors. The AG is in the executive branch, and I am the only one in this race that has the executive level experience of signing the front of a paycheck and knowing where the buck stops. And the other guy has pretty much worked for government his entire life.
Shouldn't the Attorney General, though, be able to try a case in court?
Well, so look, Ken Paxton, 2013, let's back up here. Why did we support him when he ran for AG? It wasn't because he was a civil attorney like me. Right? It wasn't because he worked at Gibson Dunn. It wasn't because he was a general counsel. The reason why we supported him for Attorney General is because he had that proven conservative record. And he was the top 1 or 2 most conservative members in the Texas Senate, just like me. And he's not in the courtroom. And the reason why he's not is he is busy leading as he should be.
Have you ever disagreed with Ken Paxton on legal strategy, lawsuits, or how to run the AG's office?
Look, he's been a great fighter for conservative values. Look, we had these victories just the past few weeks. Ten Commandments lapel. See this on my lapel? That was a huge victory for our religious liberties and for our Christian values
But
as
any
well.
disagreements at all?
Look, at the end of the day, I'm proud of the work that's been done in that office. We got to make sure that Texas has put first in this. And I'll back up this here.
Yeah.
We don't have another Texas to move to. That's why this is so important. That's why this fight is so important. And we've got to continue that good work, but build on it. And I'll give you an example. Here's a good example here. Election integrity, right? They took away General Paxton's ability to prosecute election-related crimes. Court of Criminal Appeals did that in 2021. That's why I fought to restore that power, right? It became law in December, and then we've got to take step two. And I will take step two in the Attorney General's office, and that is a standalone task force division devoted to investigating and prosecuting those that are breaking our election laws. Here's another example. Harris County, right? I represent part of Harris County. Waste, fraud, and abuse is rampant. And I'm sick and tired of talking about that. I want to hold those accountable that have committed the waste and the fraud and the abuse. Judge Lena Hidalgo and her commissioner's court, it's like they have a PhD in stealing from taxpayers, right? And that's why I want to make sure I have a task force devoted to going after that in the AG's office, because one taxpayer dollar stolen is one too many. And we know government doesn't have any money. It is all taxpayer money.
Let's talk policy for a moment here. Texas has faced criticism over consumer protections, especially every time we have a storm. You should know about that on the coast there in Galveston.
Yeah.
Insurance disputes, utility failures, we've seen it all though. Where specifically has the AG's office fallen short on representing Texans?
So look, on the Gulf Coast, I go through this all the time, right? Disaster strike, hurricane strike, disaster price gouging is an important law that we have on the books in Texas. It's got to be enforced. I've seen these real world examples,
Yeah.
you know, where an older grandmother or someone that's coming in that lost everything. They've lost their home. You know, they've lost everything they have, and they're going in, they're trying to charge them $500 for a case of water, right? That's wrong. And the AG's office has got to be there to protect those who cannot protect themselves.
Has it in
That's
your
the number one
experience?
goal.
Has it in your experience?
It is fought for the Gulf Coast, I'll tell you. I've reported a lot of these cases to the AG's office, and they have handled it, because disaster price gouging is fraud. That's what that is. It is fraud. It is taking advantage of the least among us, and we've got to make sure that we use the resources and tool in this office to do exactly that, and that's why it's there. Deceptive trade practices, that's another good example here, where they've gone after companies that are taking advantage of Texas consumers. And this is a fight that I've already been in, right? So one of the good examples in that is going after the vaccine lobby, right? I authored and passed the strongest COVID vaccine mandate ban in America, $50,000 per occurrence penalty. Also recently took on the big soda lobby and banned soda and candy from our taxpayer-funded food stamp program. That was $1 billion per year that was being siphoned off of taxpayers to go to soda. And you got to think of the purpose of the program, right? It says nutritious food essential to health and well-being. Well, is soda nutritious food essential to health and well-being? I don't think so, right? That was a tough fight. It was hard, and I got it done, and it became effective this past April. So I am already in the fight to protect consumers and make sure that we're putting Texans first. And I'll be blunt here. If you're an enemy of Texas, you're an enemy of mine.
Do you think those are out there in this state? Do you think we have enemies in this state?
Absolutely.
Do you think?
We have enemies foreign and domestic. Look at what just happened the past few weeks, where they were blocking the state's ability and the federal government's ability to deport illegal immigrants, right? Blocking ICE. Yeah. The city of Houston did that. The city of Dallas has tried it. The city of Austin has tried it. And look, we had 4 years of an open border. And we need to make sure that we back up President Trump and his deportation and border security agenda. It is that simple. And there is a powerful tool to do that. It's called the ban on sanctuary cities, which I will use aggressively. And it allows the AG to bring an action to sue for civil penalties, criminal penalties, and removal from office, which is the most powerful one. So you get in the way of ICE, you get removed from office. And that's a violation of their oath of office. I'll point out that as well.
For not following the Constitution, right?
Well, exactly. You're supposed to put your hand on the Bible.
Right.
to protect and defend all of our laws,
Right.
all of the Constitution. And if you don't do that, if you treat them as a suggestion, you have violated your oath of office and you need to be removed from office.
Let me ask you another policy question here. Should the Attorney General's office spend less time on these national lawsuits?
Look, so goes Texas, so goes America. The left is coming for Texas because they know if they take this state, they take it all, right? We are the last line of defense, and we cannot elect a Republican to the White House without Texas.
But we're talking
They're
about
well aware of this.
But we're talking about national, separate from politics, we're talking about national lawsuits where we've seen General Paxton spend a lot of time going after these national companies as opposed to representing Texans here and specific Texas issues.
Well, these national companies are harming Texans. Look at the age verification for pornography law,
Yeah.
right? They were fighting to expose children to pornography. One of the most important tasks in government is to protect children from harm. That's what I've been fighting for years, and that's a great example because that was a national issue, right? These are huge international companies, and they were lobbying and fighting to expose children to this. It is wrong. We know it's harmful. And here's another good example here of a distinction between myself and my opponent, right? Transgender surgeries for kids. We all know that's wrong. We all know that's evil. I made it a Freedom Caucus priority because I was chairman of the Freedom Caucus to end that evil practice and also end these surgeries and also drugs, right? They had the drugs that they were giving to kids that permanently sterilized them. We passed that law. It became law in Texas, but on the federal level, there was something very similar going through Congress. And so what did Chip Roy do? He offered an amendment to allow these evil child transgender surgeries to continue in the blue states. It would have rewarded Gavin Newsom, it would have rewarded the transgender lobby, and he did it in the name of states' rights and the Commerce Clause. I am sorry, there is no right to harm a child, and I am here to end all evil, not just taxpayer-funded evil.
A few last questions here for you. You have another big ad buy right now across the state. What's the message, the closing message you have for Republican primary voters?
Well, so Jason, this is a time for choosing, right? That's one of Ronald Reagan's most famous quotes here. And for 7 years, I've been in this fight. That's why I've earned the endorsement of so many conservative grassroots groups across our state, like Texas Right to Life, Texas Values, Texas Homeschool Coalition, Riley Gaines, David Barton, of course, our Lieutenant Governor has endorsed me in this race as well. But I am never retreating from Washington, D.C. because I'm never going to Washington, D.C. I have always known that the fight is right here in the great state of Texas, and Macy and I are blessed to have 4 little ones at home, 3 boys, 1 little girl. They're my daily reminder of what we're fighting for here, because that's who the left is coming for, and that's who suffers if we get this wrong. And I am all in. I will never relent in this fight to protect and defend Texas. It's what I've been doing for the past 7 years in office in Austin. It's what I will continue to do in the AG's office. And the most important thing is defeating the left. And I'm the only one that has experience doing that. It's the reason why, Jason, I'm the only one that's been protested during this campaign. Right, they had these big ugly green signs with my face on it, and they called me the bathroom bigot because I don't want men in my little girl's restroom or locker room or shower. It's also the reason why the 2 Democrats in this race, Joe Jaworski, Nathan Johnson, they had a big debate. And they said, the guy we got to stop, the guy we cannot allow to get elected is this MAGA Mayes guy. They've also threatened me. So the reason why I've been protested, the reason why the Democrats in this race are saying I'm the person to stop, the reason why they're threatening me is the left knows who their true enemy is in this race. It's because I'm already defeating them.
If you become the nominee, will you ask Chip Roy for his endorsement?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you will?
I will, absolutely.
If Chip becomes the nominee, will you support him?
Absolutely, 100%. We got to elect Republicans up and down the ballot in November because it's a spiritual attack we're under right now. Texas is under attack and they want to destroy us.
Senator, good luck to you.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you having me on today.
Good stuff, man.